with that out of the way, let's go ahead and talk about Doc Rivers and his opinions about Darvin Ham being fired. Now, if you guys didn't know, Darvin Ham is now an assistant coach for the Milwaukee Bucks, and he sits alongside Doc Rivers. Now, coaching combination of the year, ladies and gentlemen. Oh my, this is going to be awful when the Bucks hit the postseason. I'm actually very scared for the Bucks, and it's really unfortunate because I feel like Giannis, paired along with Damian Lillard, when you know how to utilize them and you know how to like make proper plays for them and you know how to do this, that, and the other with him, they can be a very solid team. They both complement their play styles rather well. And I honestly feel like that's going to be wasted with these two in a coaching position for the Milwaukee Bucks. So it's going to be very interesting how the rest of the season plays out with these two guys as coach. And I'm very scared for the Bucks. And it's really unfortunate because I really, really like Giannis and I think he's fantastic. And I'm not as big of a fan as Damian Lillard as I was previously. I think a lot of people tend to sort of overrate him because of his 2 playoff series that he played where he hit a game winner in both of those playoff series. And people sort of give him this clutch reputation when in the reality it doesn't seem like he's all that clutch in the postseason. But they make it seem like he is, and that's sort of a big reason why I'm not a big fan of him as much. But I still do respect his game, and I still do respect what he brings to the Bucks. He's definitely brings value to the Milwaukee Bucks. However, I don't think he should have been an all-star starter last season. I think he sort of got that by default. But that's just me. Let me know in the comments what you guys think of Damian Lillard and Giannis Antetokounmpo. But this article goes ahead and starts off with mentioning Darvin Ham's incredibly rough start to the 2023-2024 season and the rough ending to the 2023-2024 postseason. So he came off the Western Conference Finals the year prior and seemed to have built a pretty solid foundation with the Lakers, but had a lot of questionable decision making. That's a really big problem with both Doc Rivers and Darvin Ham. Their decision making, especially when it really matters. And not only that, his lack of tactical his lack of just being able to make any sort of plays as a coach is also very, very noticeable and something that he kind of dismissed. Like you'd look at Darvin Ham's clipboard and there would be nothing drawn on it. Why even have a clipboard if you're not going to draw any play or if you're not going to do this or that or the other? It doesn't make any sense. And they lost in 5 games to the Denver Nuggets, which was a little bit better than losing in 4 games to the Denver Nuggets the previous year, but still really just not all that much of an improvement coming in from Darvin Ham in his second season. And it was enough for the organization to let Darvin Ham go. Because, let's face it, if he wouldn't get let go, I think the Lakers are doing a huge disservice to LeBron. And throughout the season, it felt like Darvin Ham's grip on the job was loosening every single day as players didn't really tune him in. Like, he essentially lost the locker room at a certain point of the season. And LeBron James even reportedly lost faith in him, perhaps the biggest indictment of his tenure with the Lakers. And when LeBron loses faith in a head coach, that's essentially like the kiss of death, for lack of a better term, honestly. It's not even a kiss, honestly. It's more like a slap to the face because the best player on the court just does not like the coach. Like there were so many times where I saw LeBron just straight up grab the clipboard from Darvin Ham and do this and do that and be the coach himself. And Ham eventually agreed to become an assistant coach for the Bucks under Doc Rivers prior to their preseason matchup on Thursday night, which we will get into in the second segment. And Doc Rivers expressed some confusion with the Lakers and the decision to part ways with Darvin Ham. And Rivers said, there's a quote from Rivers saying, "It's been great. First of all, he's been here even longer than me. He knows things that I didn't know." Shocker. He has relationships with players, another guy that can trust. Trust is so important for players, and more importantly, he deserves it. I'm not going to get into the whole thing that happened there, but he took a team to a Western Conference Finals in the following year. He won the in-season tournament, which they say we should have a lot of value on, and then they release him. It literally makes no sense, but it happens. It happens to all of us. It's part of what we do. But Darvin Ham's a coach. He should be on the sidelines, and I wanted him next to me. And really, I don't know how not Darvin Ham. I don't know how Doc Rivers can look at the Lakers situation and look at the Lakers rotations and think that there was absolutely nothing wrong with Darvin Ham as the coach. And really, it sort of seems like these two coaches, they do the exact same thing when they're on the sideline, depending on what coach they are and depending on who they coach. Not really even depending on who they coach, just by looking at what they do on the sideline in every single game that they're in. It doesn't help. Like, these two, I feel like they sort of have the same mentality of the coach is just supposed to put the lineup out there and the lineup is supposed to figure it out themselves. And it does not help. It does not work in today's NBA. Like, while there's a battle going on the court, there's also a battle that should be going on in the sidelines between the coaches. Like, you have to try and outwit your coach. Try to think like your opposing coach. Try to think what the opposing coach is going to do when you throw this out. And if he does counter it, what do you throw out afterwards? Like, with Doc Rivers and Darvin Ham, it seems like when their A game and when their go-to plan doesn't work, they don't have anything else and they don't have any other backup plan in case their primary plan just falls out. And we see this every single time with Doc Rivers when he's in the postseason. And I know that didn't happen in 2008, but he's living off of that one championship that the Boston Celtics ended up winning. And they ended up winning it because they had a fantastic team, an incredibly stacked team that not many teams at the time knew how to counter. And once teams figured out how to counter it, once LeBron was able to figure out how to counter it, it ended up failing, and it ended up not working. And his failure as the Clippers head coach, and not only that, the 76ers head coach, is also going to be jotted down. And some people, well, Doc Rivers himself actually doesn't think that he should get much blame for those failures, mainly because certain players in certain situations failed to show up. And yes, that is very true. But when you see this and you don't do anything, whose fault is that? Like, if you're seeing that a player is struggling, if you're seeing that a lineup, a rotation that you just made is struggling, and you're just sitting there doing nothing, who is to blame? Like, the Clippers were on the verge of, well, at least the playoff series that I'm going to be primarily focusing on was the second 3-1 lead that he blew as a Clippers head coach. Like, he blew 2 3-1 leads as the Clippers head coach, and that's just a ridiculous feat in of itself. And the second time that happened, the Clippers, they held double-digit halftime leads in about every single elimination game. In Game 5, they were up as much as 18 points, I believe. In Game 6, they were up by 16 points. And then with 4 minutes left in Game 7, they were up by 12. And the Denver Nuggets ended up making the proper adjustments, and they ended up playing a lot better than the Clippers did in those final quarters in the second half of each of those games. But Doc Rivers wasn't doing anything. When he saw that his team was struggling, there was no timeout that was called. There was absolutely nothing to stop the Denver Nuggets' momentum, and therefore they continued to push through and ultimately ended up winning the series. And not doing anything is just as bad as a player on the court also not doing anything. And it's something that they just don't seem to understand. Rivers seems to obviously be standing up for a member on his coaching staff. And while he does make valid points, the fact of the matter is that the team simply could not run it back with Darvin Ham as the head coach. And between poor timeout usage, inconsistent rotations, lineup choices, and just lack of self-awareness on top of that, Ham just wasn't the right guy for the Lakers coaching position. And they're obviously hoping for a new change in JJ Redick. And I really, really hope that the Lakers can actually make this work and just get both of these head coaches out of Milwaukee. I'm sorry to say this, but it's like, I am not a big fan of Doc Rivers as a coach, and I'm not a big fan of Darvin Ham as a coach. I think they are just a detriment to the team, and it's something that's just waiting to happen. Like, you have to wait until the postseason for this to happen, because these guys, they could be great in the regular season. The regular season is completely different in the postseason when teams start taking things way more seriously and they start implementing new adjustments to try and throw you off guard, because that's half the battle. Like, sure, the players, they make up a huge part of how your team performs, but another half of the battle is the battle that goes on the sidelines. What can you adjust? What can you do? What can you throw at the other team that would have them confused on how to stop it? And what can they do about it if you throw this lineup in to get ready for a counter? All of these sort of things, they happen on the sideline, and they're just doing nothing about it. And when you're basic and when people know exactly what you're doing, it makes it a lot easier to defend. And this is sort of a reason why I feel like isolation basketball isn't a reliable method of scoring, because once teams figure out how to stop you, or once you stop yourself with your poor shooting, where do you go from there? Like, where does your offense go from there to throw the defense off guard? And especially now when teams understand better how to guard a 5-out situation, and how to not only that, guard an isolation situation, like throwing double teams at random, throwing rotations in there at random, and adjusting the lineup to better match up against the isolation style of play that a team might run. So that's all that I really have on this segment. Let me know in the comments if you guys are excited for Doc Rivers and Darvin Ham head coaching combination. I know I am not. So we're going to go ahead and go into the second segment where I talk about the Bucks versus Lakers preseason game and just recap all of the performances that went into this game, as well as recap what happened. So I'll be right back after this short break. Be sure to stay tuned.
I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord, give me a sign, a sign. I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord, give me a sign, a sign. I wanna be the greatest. Everybody on the fake shit. I look around and feel like everybody is the fakest. I make this every day and I'm impatient, hoping one day I blow up from the basement. Statement, the top is so vacant. I don't hear shit that I think is amazing. Waiting for my day when I'm playing sold out shows for 1,000 faces. Hey, give me that crown, get in my way and to be put down. It ain't your place, all this my town. If I want that shit, then I'll get it right now. I'm losing it, the noose it fits. I'm losing shit, a stupid myth. You choose to live or choose to dip. You choose to fight or lose your grip and lose a gift. Oh, I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord, give me a sign, a sign. I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the